Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the Monday, September 22nd edition of the Daily Pulse. I'm your host, Teddy Panos, coming to you from the WellPoint Studios here in beautiful, historic downtown Lowell. We're kicking off a new day, kicking off a new weekend, kicking off a new season. Fall officially arrives, I believe, at 2 o'clock today. Not sure when you're watching this, but fall may already be here. Either way, on to season number 3, and then before you know it, winter will be here as well. But we got a gorgeous day out there in downtown Lowell and throughout most of our viewing area. And we're excited for today's Daily Pulse episode as well. You might have caught a glimpse there on that opening shot, but joined in studio today by nobody. Once again, the empty chair is my special guest host, and you know what that means. That makes this Monday a Big Mouth Monday here on the Daily Pulse. We got lots to talk about, a little bit of a recap of a huge event in our area that is now making national and to some degree international headlines. And it's got a Lowell connection. It's got a couple of Lowell connections. We'll talk about that, and we'll preview tomorrow night's Lowell City Council meeting, which has not one, but 2 agenda items that could make for a lot of discussion, a lot of debate, and maybe a lot of controversy as well. One of them we really highlighted on Friday with a story on InsideLowell.com. First, let me thank my Daily Pulse sponsors. You know about Ray Booten, right? You got to find them online at realestaterayBooten.com. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, a business, or a commercial property, that's the guy you need to talk to. That's the person you need to talk to. Again, you can find them online at realestaterayBooten.com. Thanks as well to our friends at WellPoint, the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, WellPoint. Got some other sponsors. We're going to get to them a little bit later on. But first, let's start with the big story that kind of captivated our region on Saturday night as word broke of a mass shooting at Sky Meadow Country Club in Nashua, New Hampshire, just up Route 3 north from the greater Lowell area, just up the Merrimack River. Details eventually emerged, and what we know as of today is 1 person is dead. The alleged shooter is in custody. He was apprehended. A bunch of other people were injured. A couple were shot. Others were injured in the rush, the scramble to escape. The shooter, there are reports, was kind of tackled and smacked until he dropped the gun by a couple of people at the Sky Meadow Country Club facility. There's a little bit of uncertainty. You're hearing different things about, was it a wedding? Was it the restaurant, the bar? Where did the shooting take place? Who was the target? There were people, whether it was in the wedding function hall or in the restaurant, whatever, there were people from the wedding that were back and forth who witnessed this thing, and they're the ones who have come out and spoken. What we know today is that Hunter Nadeau, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, is the suspect who is in custody. He's another one of these, I'll say it, lunatic 20-something-year-old males who dressed in black, went to a facility and started shooting. Oh, he also yelled "Free Palestine," among other things that he yelled. According to the eyewitness account, the children are safe, free Palestine. We're told now by some law enforcement folks, the Attorney General's office up there in New Hampshire, he was yelling other stuff. What they don't know is whether he was just yelling things at random to try to create confusion, panic, whatnot. I mean, if you're going to yell a bunch of things at random to confuse people and whatnot, I think I'd yell, "I got a gun, I'm shooting, you're all gonna die." He yelled "Free Palestine." I think that offers a little bit of a hint as to what this lunatic's political motivations are, and he is yet another one of these folks, apparently from the left side of the aisle, who thinks that violence is the answer to political disagreement. And I know, we got to say, all my MAGA friends out there, let's make sure we say it. People from both sides of the aisle, we need to tone down the violence. We need to tone down the rhetoric that leads to this violence on both sides. But once again, right, I don't know, Luigi Mangione, the guy who shot Charlie Kirk, whose name is escaping me, the guy who tried to assassinate then candidate, future president-to-be Donald Trump, the second guy who tried to assassinate then candidate, future president Donald Trump. Lot of this seems to be happening on one side of the aisle. Oh, and in case you missed it over the weekend, there was another shooting that might have caught your attention. Somebody shot at an ABC network, television network affiliate in Sacramento, California. ABC. Oh, the network that suspended Jimmy Kimmel because he was costing them tens of millions of dollars and continuing to say things that pissed off, alienated half his country, half his audience and whatnot, so that they continue to lose even more money on him. But, you know, it's whoever, the guy was apparently a 64-year-old dude who shot at the station. Of course, authorities are unsure what the motive is. Oh, I don't know. Maybe perhaps that was the scene of a protest at some point last week. Perhaps somebody had been listening to the nonstop rantings of those on the left, the nonviolent, the peace-loving people on the left who keep talking about Nazis and fascism and freedom of speech and existential threats to democracy and all this stuff. And somehow this rhetoric leads people who tend to agree with him to go out and get a gun and start opening fire, assassinating people, healthcare executives on the streets of New York City, speakers who are holding large rallies on college campuses. I don't know. We'll find out that I'm sure that there was some activism on the part of the guy who dressed in all black and shot up Sky Meadow Golf Club, Country Club over the weekend. But I do feel the need that I need to tell my peeps as well, all of us MAGA peeps. Remember, both sides need to tamp down the violent rhetoric and especially the violent actions. You know, all you people, the 70,000 plus that showed up for the Charlie Kirk celebration of life, the memorial ceremony, the folks who had a vigil out in Chelmsford Town Center. I drove by it last night. A bunch of others are taking place throughout Massachusetts and the country. All these candlelight vigils and remembrances and whatnot. Notice people aren't choosing to remember Charlie Kirk's death by grabbing weapons and going out and opening fire on their perceived political enemies. They're having somber remembrances and celebrations of life and trying to continue the legacy and the words that Charlie Kirk had started, as much as it may trigger, you know, bad feelings in some folks on the left. I don't know. Again, as both sides need to tamp down the rhetoric and the violence, look around you. Who's violent? Who's continuing to call people Nazis and fascists and all these other words that might incite a 23-year-old person with serious mental issues to grab a gun and think that he's doing justice? He's saving democracy. He's saving the people of Palestine. I don't know what's inspiring all these people. We may never know the motives. We may never know the motives, especially if we're listening to our friends in mainstream media. But whether you're shooting up a network headquarters in Sacramento, California, of the network that fired one of your idols, if he was such a hero, why weren't more people watching Jimmy Kimmel, by the way, so that he'd become unfireable? Do you remember when Spotify tried to, when people pushed Spotify to get rid of Joe Rogan because he was a threat to democracy, and Spotify looked at his viewership, the downloads that his podcast gets, and said to Neil Young, yeah, thanks, but no thanks, Neil. And everybody else who's telling us either you fire Joe Rogan or we're off your platform. And Spotify said, see ya, bye-bye. You build your audience to a certain level, you don't get silenced. You do not get silenced unless the government does the silencing, which is another topic. But private entities, private corporations, organizations who do the silencing always follow the money. There's a financial reason, as there was with Jimmy Kimmel. But you guys keep believing whatever you want to believe about why we couldn't just change the channel. Well, we did change the channel. Just look at Jimmy Kimmel's ratings and how many viewers or how few viewers he has today compared to 2015 or compared to the days when late night television was king. You know, there's your answer. But if you don't want to accept it, just like you want to believe that, you know, both sides need to tone down the violent rhetoric, knock yourself out. I do want to talk about the Lowell connection, though, to this case. You may have noticed during the press conferences that were held Saturday night, as the situation unfolded in Nashua and the investigation was underway, that leading the investigation is the Nashua Police Department under the helm of Police Chief Kevin Rourke. Kevin Rourke, a Centerville kid. A kid from Lowell who's been the named police chief in Nashua in March of 2022, I believe was the exact date. We do have a story on InsideLowell.com about the two Lowell connections to this case, maybe a third that we're trying to track down. But anyway, Kevin Rourke is a Centerville kid, Lowell High graduate, star baseball player for Lowell High, 4-year letterman, played all 4 of his years, freshman through senior, for the Lowell High baseball team. He was also a heck of a basketball player. I know because I had coached against him in the McPherson's Park Summer League for a couple of seasons there. And I'll tell you what, I also coached Lowell Mayor Danny Rourke, who's cousins with Nashua Police Chief Kevin Rourke. We got the wrong Rourke on our basketball team. Our mayor, no skills. Kevin Rourke was a hell of a basketball player, but baseball was where his bread was buttered in high school. He's the police chief in Nashua. You know, you'll see him as this investigation unfolds. He was there Saturday night, as I mentioned, with an assistant attorney general or DA or something from the Nashua area. On Sunday morning, he was back out with the attorney general of New Hampshire as well, providing more information on the shooting. The other Lowell connection, it's actually a UMass Lowell connections. Rob Parsons, UMass Lowell class of 1995, is the owner of the Sky Meadow Country Club. By the way, we need to differentiate. A lot of folks said Nashua Country Club. There is a place called the Nashua Country Club up there, but this is the Sky Meadow Country Club, not the Nashua Country Club. Some news entities got it wrong in their rush to get out the information and say that it took place in Nashua, but it's actually Sky Meadow Country Club, and their owner purchased it in 2021, is none other than UMass Lowell graduate Rob Parsons. Rob Parsons was a finance major at UMass Lowell. He went on to be a director of development for Popeyes Fried Chicken and I believe Denny's. Remember the breakfast places and restaurants? Denny's, a chain across the country. He actually owned 7, according to a story in UMass Lowell's online magazines and stuff. At one time, he owned 7 Popeyes chicken franchises in the greater Boston area. He sold them to concentrate on the Parsons Institute, which is a nationwide early child care center. He's put a lot of money into that. Parsons Ventures is his company now that finances a lot of the stuff. He does own, according to that same UMass Lowell article, that he does own 1 more Popeyes in Nashua, New Hampshire, ironically enough. And he purchased the Sky Meadow Country Club in 2021, poured a ton of money into it, to not just into the golf course, which was a great golf course, by the way. I used to play there a lot. When I played golf often, we used to have a weekly trip up there to Sky Meadow and played in a number of tournaments when I was working up at Channel 50 in New Hampshire. It would host a lot of charity golf tournaments, and I had the pleasure of playing there. Awesome golf course. I'm told he poured a ton of money into it, poured a ton of money into the banquet facility, expanding its size, put a ton of money into the restaurant and the bar. I think they call it Prime Restaurant or Prime Steakhouse now. They've really upscaled the dining room up there. He's added pickleball courts. He's put a ton of money into the swimming pool. He's got all these other amenities, and he's got continuous plans for expansion up there. But there is that Lowell connection to the story as well. Find me a story anywhere in the region, in the country, and internationally, and you can probably, if you dig deeply enough, you can probably find a Lowell connection. All right, you're tuned into the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse on this Monday, September 22nd, 2025. Let me thank my Daily Pulse sponsors. Of course, we've already told you about Ray Booten. He is a licensed realtor in Massachusetts and New Hampshire and a certified appraiser in both states as well. Find him online, realestaterayBooten.com. Thanks as well to WellPoint at WellPoint. Your whole health is their whole point. Washington Savings Bank, banking that feels like home. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, TMI Cares, developing and managing their own properties for over 30 years. Experience the quality, the care, and the value of making TMI the choice for your home. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection to Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. The Greater Lowell Community Foundation, improving the quality of life in our communities through strategic, impactful philanthropy. And by Francis E. Preventure Insurance, the agency Greater Lowell is counted on to insure its most valuable assets since 1982. Again, thank you to all of our Daily Pulse sponsors and Inside Lowell podcast sponsors. Want to look ahead in the time we have remaining to tomorrow night's Lowell City Council meeting. The Lowell City Council will meet tomorrow, September 23rd. I believe they take the 30th off and then in October return to their every week schedule. They get off their quote unquote summer schedule. Bunch of items on the agenda, a bunch of manager responses, a bunch of informational things, all sorts of business, as is always the case, especially when they're meeting every 2 weeks, and especially as we get closer to an election. But two items jumped out at me. Again, we did a story on them on InsideLowell.com on Friday night. The story is headlined Harm Reduction or, oh God, I'm forgetting the name of the headline. Oh, Harm Reduction or Irreparable Harm. It's right there on my computer screen as I had to check over. But check out the story. It goes into some detail about both of the agenda items. And as you could guess, the harm reduction is the main thrust of the story. But I'll start with the Markley Group, Lowell's own data center out in South Lowell. That was the subject of much debate over the summer when they were trying to get approval for 4 backup generators, which they did, but not without a lot of back and forth and not without some opposition from some neighbors, mostly from environmental groups in the city and beyond, who are realizing that artificial intelligence, AI, and the need to power them and the data centers that, make them possible are really doing a number on the environmental movement and on energy consumption / energy demand, and they are trying to stop it. Well, as we told you back then, we did a number of Daily Pulse podcasts on the topic, and we told you that it was also discussed on the city council floor that they were coming back in the fall. Markley Group was coming back, looking to add, I believe the number was 14 more of those generators. They're actually looking to add 16 in total. If you read the agenda item on the lowellma.gov website, go to the city council agendas part, and you can see the informational packet as well. 16 total generators they're looking to add. There's 14 of one kind, 2 of another kind. I'm not getting into the difference of it. It's all French to me. That's all because I speak Greek, so I can't say it's all Greek to me. But no doubt, once again, the environmentalists will be out in full force. No doubt, once again, some of the neighbors will be out in full force. And no doubt, the Markley Group will also get some people in support, as they did at the last meeting. It's a fascinating discussion. It is the future, artificial intelligence. It is coming whether you like it or not. And as I've told you, it will be the jumping off point where the environmental movement loses a good chunk of its political support, except for the, Greta Thunbergs of the world and some of the real hardcore folks, because if the United States loses the AI race and the United States does not build its AI infrastructure to a point where we can rule it, much as we kind of have done other technologies and the World Wide Web and other stuff, we're in trouble in a number of different ways. It has been deemed a national security issue, which basically green lights, get it done. Whatever you think of that, get it done. I happen to think you can't stop the future, you can't stop progress, and it's better to get a common sense approach to implementing it and fueling it and providing the energy for it. But whatever, this battle will happen. Hint, those of you who doubted me when I said the environmental movement's going to get shoved aside for AI, I remind you about last week when we did a show and told you that how Governor Maura Healey shoved aside environmental requirements for development in order to meet the demand for housing. It's an emergency. We need so much more housing here in Massachusetts for all the people that we continue to bring in and welcome in, even though they can't afford housing and we're told we don't have enough housing. So we just keep bringing more and more. The vicious cycle begins. But Governor Healey last week said, we're going to eliminate environmental requirements. We're going to take this 1 year plus review process and turn it into a 30-day review process by cutting out certain things. Don't believe me? Go to the mass.gov website, look at her proposal, or go to InsideLowell.com. We've got all the links for it. Watch the Daily Pulse from last week where I told you this. I showed you her own words. I showed you exactly what they're doing. So they shoved the environmental movement aside. Make no mistake about it, that's exactly what they did. They cut out requirements that we were told were essential and necessary. They cut them out to save developers money and to expedite the process of building housing. It's exactly what they're going to do for artificial intelligence. And despite whatever the Lowell City Council does, I don't anticipate this result being different from the summer result. On Markley's request, they may try to, put some window dressing on it, put in some requirements that they do some XYZ. But make no mistake about it. If the choice is either we approve the project and get it done, or we don't approve it and risk losing data centers, and in particular our data center here in Lowell, the Markley Group, which is a big part of Link. It's a big part of what UMass Lowell does. It's a big part of what these companies that are coming into UMass Lowell and Link do. All of it's Link, right? The Lowell Innovation Network Corridor Innovation. Artificial intelligence is a huge, huge part of what this is about, and it's a huge, huge part of what UMass Lowell is doing. The city of Lowell and its world-class university are front and center in what is a global battle over data centers and energy demand. One way or another, the Markley Group will expand their facility. Do we want them to expand it in Lowell, or do we want them to expand it elsewhere? Maybe another state, or maybe another town. I bet you Drake would love. Drake has a lot of land too. I bet you Drake would love a data center. I'm not so sure Chelmsford wouldn't like one either, although some of my neighbors out there in Chelmsford Center are still trying to fight the expansion of the Chelmsford Mall. But this is going to be an interesting discussion. There are some counselors it was a 10-1 vote, I believe, last time. Councilor Kim Scott, the South Lowell, the District 5 representative, she was the only no vote. Others who voted yes, we're looking to, for hydro-treated vegetable oils instead of diesel fuel. That idea was kind of a non-starter because people realized it's silly, and the process of hydro-treating these vegetable oils is probably worse than just running diesel generators. But there'd be some talks about water and demand and who pays for the energy use. All this stuff will be debated, and it should be debated, by the way. It should be a discussion we will have. But ultimately, I am willing to bet that the Markley Group gets its approval. If not tomorrow night, somewhere down the line, it will happen. And if not, the Markley Group will get their approval somewhere else. And you'll still have to deal with the environmental fallout and everything else that goes with it. A few neighbors will be happier in South Lowell, perhaps, but given that it's deemed an industrial site, something else will go in there if Markley packs up shop and leaves or doesn't expand, whatever the case may be. The fun issue tomorrow night, the really fun issue tomorrow night, and it's broken out into a little bit of a battle, pitting at least 2 of Lowell's city councilors against at least 1 of Lowell's state representatives. Having a little social media and an Inside Lowell little war of words over safe injection sites. What is a safe injection site? Well, let's talk about Massachusetts House Bill 2196, an act relative to preventing overdose deaths and increasing access to treatment. The bill filed in the House of Representatives. A similar bill was filed in the Senate, but the House of Representatives wanted no part of it in the past. I remember doing a radio interview with State Senator Ed Kennedy at the time when the Senate bill was coming up, and he signified an openness to discussing the idea. But unfortunately for those who support it, the House wanted no part of it. Back in front of the House again, got a bunch of people who have signed on to the bill as well, including 16th Middlesex State Representative Tara Hong, representing Lowell's Highlands and Acre neighborhoods, the 16th Middlesex District. An act relative to preventing overdose deaths and increasing access to treatment. Who doesn't want that? It's a well-intentioned bill, except for one part. But again, don't we all want to prevent overdose deaths and increase access to treatment? Of course we do. If you don't, you simply don't have a heart. We should want to prevent death. We should want to increase access to treatment. The question is, what are the most effective ways to get there? How do we get there without doing counterproductive measures or making the situation worse? Let's call up our first slide of today's show. There's a section from House Bill 2196. And by the way, safe injection sites, they're now called harm reduction centers because safe injection sites, harm reduction center is all encompassing, but also safe injection sites, still a little too close to the wording of shooting gallery, which people had used because you're sanctioning and overseeing the shooting up of drugs. Lethal drugs, illegal drugs. And highlighted for you right there in the legislation, when harm reduction program, the definition of what is a harm reduction program. It's telling you what it is. According to Councillor Corey Robinson, he has no problem with this bill, except for that one part that we've highlighted for you. Supervision of persons who use pre-obtained substances. In other words, there are people who are hired or part of some organization on some government-sanctioned property who will watch while people who purchase substances, and let's make no mistake what we're talking about here. We're talking about illegal substances. We're talking about heroin. We're talking about fentanyl. We're talking about the stuff that's laced into fentanyl these days. We're talking about crack, cocaine, meth, crystal meth, you name it. You buy that substance somewhere. We're not going to sell it to you in these locations. You buy it somewhere, and you can come here and use it, and we'll supervise it. Make sure you're safe. We'll treat you with Narcan if need be, if you overdose and could die. But we'll get you some Narcan. We'll try to get you some treatment. We'll try to talk to you. We'll try to get you counseling. We'll give you pamphlets, flyers, whatever the case may be. What are you dealing with? What are you struggling with? How can we help? Do you need housing? Do you need treatment? Do you need this and that? And we'll guide you into the facilities. This is the good part of harm reduction. This is what we want. We want people to go into facilities where they get treatment. Why do we need to legalize them shooting up in front of a licensed person who's watching them? Some kind of person, is it a volunteer? I'm assuming they're licensed in some kind of drug addiction thing, or some kind of drug addiction treatment, I should say, or some kind of medical situation where they can help these folks and administer care if it's needed, if they overdose. Why can't we do the harm reduction part of the harm reduction program without sanctioning people going out and buying illegal drugs and using them in front of these people on these properties? Why is that part necessary? Well, supporters of it will tell you it works. It's been tried in a bunch of other places and it works. Does it? I don't know. Did methadone mile work for Boston? Mass and Cass, did those areas work for Boston where it was allowed and volunteers were out there trying to make sure it was safe to do so? Did it really work in Vancouver, British Columbia, which has been the subject of a number of studies? These studies say, oh, it's working. It's reducing the spread of disease. It's reducing the spread of, AIDS or hepatitis or whatever other disease. It's saving lives. People are being immediately treated when they overdose and whatnot. Others will tell you, nah, those stats aren't really telling you that. Are they saving lives? Yeah, I guess if I am trained and somebody overdoses in front of me and I administer Narcan and that person comes to, technically I've saved their life. Then again, Narcan is everywhere. There are vending machines that dispense Narcan all over the place. There are treatment facilities that dispense Narcan. There are hospitals. There are nonprofits. There are places that dispense Narcan knowing that people are going to engage in these very risky behaviors. They're going to shoot up, and they could very likely die if they've got the wrong amount or the wrong mix of chemicals in their body, or for whatever reason their body gives out. So Narcan is already available. Heck, most of the people using have Narcan, and if they're using with other people, the other people are the ones who are administering the Narcan. So are we going to save lives? Sure, we will save a few lives of people who would have died. They may die the next time they use, if they don't use is there going to be a long line in the safe injection site? Will you be able to just walk in and use when you want to use? Will you feel comfortable going in and using and when you want to use in front of somebody supervising it? I don't know, maybe not. But there are people who we offer housing to, there are homeless people we offer housing to who don't accept that housing. Stands to reason that there are people who are going to be offered a safe injection site and aren't going to choose to use that safe injection site. So how many lives are we saving? How many people are we successful in getting into treatment? I don't know. There's no real solid studies and certainly none that give you a long-term effect, because this is a rather new phenomenon. And even in the case of Vancouver, British Columbia, in the 2000 teens is kind of when all this started to come about. What are the cons of it? And for the record, in case you can't tell, I am wholeheartedly against that part of this bill. I cannot stress enough what a bad idea I think it is. My opposition to it is somewhat informed. I've worked for 10 plus years now with the Megan House Foundation. This is not their official position. This is just Teddy Panos. All right, crazy podcaster, crazy radio host, telling you that in my 10 plus years in that field, trying to help save lives, trying to help raise money for people who save lives and for these people who take the courageous step of getting help, seeking long-term treatment and help, and beginning the very tough battle to recovery that is a lifelong struggle, regardless of what anyone will tell you. I think this is a terrible idea. People I have spoken to in the field say, no, this is a terrible idea. You're enabling drug usage, which has no long-term positive effect, no matter what you may think. Now, we're told there are medical professionals who say, no, these things are good ideas. Yeah, well, if they're medical professionals whose primary goal is to save lives, yeah, that's primary goal. If you're an infectious disease medical professional, this is your idea. Although, as we're passing out needles left and right, are we really making it safe, or aren't we already mitigating this problem? Again, this will all be debated, I'm sure, tomorrow night and in the coming weeks as this situation unfolds. But I want to talk about the word safe, because when you create what is called a safe injection site, you can call it anything you want. You can call it a harm reduction center. You can use whatever flowery wording you want to disguise what it is. It's a safe injection site where somebody goes and buys illegal substances, again, heroin, fentanyl, the combinations of more lethal drugs and fentanyl that are on the street today, crack cocaine, crystal meth, you name it, they're going out and they're buying it somewhere. And if they come into the safe injection site, we're going to let you use it. You're condoning it. You're enabling it. You may try to get some people into counseling. Are you telling them we'll let you use here, but the requirement is you then have to go into counseling? Because that's, if you really want to get people into counseling, that's kind of how you have to do it. And I'm not talking about a 3-day detox and a, 10-day, 20-day program to get you out of it. We're talking about a 6-month, years-long battle to get recovery to a point where it can be sustainable. It's not an easy thing. And I find it interesting that we're going to pour some people, as well-intentioned as they are. Tara Hung is a bright young man. He's got a big heart, and I think he is legitimately trying to help here. I think he's misguided in this particular case. But he's not alone. There are many others who are. And the reason why I believe he is because the resources that we would pour into these safe injection sites, why not just pour them into doing the outreach that gets people into treatment to begin with? Don't create the implication, the appearance that it's safe to inject a drug because we're here for you. We're going to watch you and we're trained. Because there's no such thing as a needle in your arm or wherever else they're injecting, toes, wherever. There's no such thing as a safe needle when that needle is injecting you with fentanyl, opiates, or any other lethal substance. There's no such thing as a safe injection. You can call it anything you want. And perhaps that's why they've changed the wording to harm reduction centers, because the argument there's no such thing as a safe injection gets some people to say, yeah, you're kind of right. So let's just change the wording. No such thing as a safe injection. No such thing as a safe injection, more so today than ever. Because now, do you know what the drug dealers are doing now? They're lacing their fentanyl with animal tranquilizers. By the way, I think fentanyl was originally an elephant tranquilizer, but now apparently not lethal enough because fentanyl is an opiate and Narcan works. So these evil drug dealers and the people who run these cartels and drug dealing operations, these enemies of people, these enemies of society, and yeah, these enemies of the United States, they have now started mixing their fentanyl with a chemical substance called xylazine, aka tranq. The street name for it is tranq, Tranq. The scientific name for it is xylazine. It's a horse tranquilizer. And they're mixing it with fentanyl. Drug enforcement agents are finding it in up to 1/3 of the fentanyl that's being distributed on the streets. In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, it is causing a startling rise in the number of overdoses and in the number of overdose deaths, despite the availability, the readily available Narcan, Naxalone, I believe, is the scientific term for it. It's Narcan, is what it's known on the street. People are receiving Narcan immediately after ODing, and they're not waking up. The Narcan isn't working. Do you know why? Because tranq, xylazine, is resistant to Narcan. It's not an opiate. Narcan only works on opiates. It doesn't work on xylazine. So when these unsuspecting people who have a drug addiction think they're buying heroin or fentanyl or whatever, they're getting it mixed with xylazine. And there's one other chemical that's also that the DEA is really concerned about. and folks in the medical fields are concerned about. It starts with an M, but xylazine is the main one, tranq. Because now the drug dealers and the cartels, they're not just happy with making a profit off of you using the stuff. They want to make sure you're addicted for life. And if you drop dead, well, that's the cost of doing business for them. They'll just start lacing your street marijuana, your joints, or anything else you're buying. They're lacing these illegal drugs with tranq, xylazine, and Narcan-resistant chemicals. So they're creating addicts, they're creating death, they're creating destruction in people's lives, in families, and yes, in communities. No such thing as a safe injection, folks, unless it's administered by a medical professional in a hospital setting at a quantity that is safe and legal for you. Telling people it's okay to buy preordained substances and then come use them in front of us is in many ways saying it's okay to buy preordained substances. Now we know many people will. Some people won't. I never did. I never did because it was illegal and my father told me he'd kill me. So I didn't buy any illegal substances. That was me. Maybe I'm the exception to the rule, but if it was okay, if it was allowed, maybe. If it was tolerated, enabled, who knows where I could have gone or anybody else out there for that matter. So the message shouldn't be it's okay to go buy fentanyl that may or may not be laced with xylazine or something. And God knows what else they're putting in it or will put in it as the drug industry evolves, the illegal drug industry evolves. Telling them it's okay, telling them it's safe to inject it is not smart. Corey Robinson's motion and Eric Gitcher's motion that they filed together, they want the city of Lowell to ban these safe injection sites within the city limits. Now, there are none that we know of. If the state passes this, if the Massachusetts House of Representatives is insane enough to pass this, and then the Senate follows along, and then Governor Healy, a prosecutor or an attorney general, actually okays it, or the attorney general, Andrea Campbell of Massachusetts, says it's okay, it's legal to do this, then they may overrule any Lowell ordinance that's passed. I don't know if the Lowell ordinance, I don't know if there would be an option to allow them, just like, pot shops. They gave a local option on pot shops. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts legalized it, but each community had the right to say yes or no to them. I don't know how far this legislation has gone and whether communities would have the right to ban them and whether that would supersede the okay from the state. But, it's well-intentioned, and I know the people behind it. Yeah, the drug dealers are bad people, the people who just hate our societies and the state and the city and the United States of America. There's some of them out there that hate it and just want to see destruction and chaos. But most of the people are good people, well-intentioned people that want to make things better in their community. And I put State Rep Tara Hong in there as well. I think it's misguided. One other reason why it is misguided. It's illegal. It's illegal on a federal level, and while some places are sanctioning it, you risk the ire of the federal government. What do I mean? Back we go here to our slides. And this is a statement released by U.S. Attorney Leah B. Foley regarding a Lowell Sun editorial on injection sites. And this is on the DOJ.gov website. It was written and updated April 9th, 2025 in response to an April 6th Lowell Sun editorial, which you can go check out. And it suggested that the feds turn a blind eye to safe injection sites and give it a try. Kind of that the Lowell Sun would put that in as an editorial. when when there is some good science, again, folks tell you it's good, it's helpful. There are others who tell you, yeah, again, go look at the methadone mile, go look at other places. Yeah, it's not making the situation better. It's actually going to make it worse in many ways. And put aside the people who are using themselves and how that makes their lot in life better. How does it make the community a better place? Does it make the community better? Does it make the community safer? Does it make the community immune from overdoses and deaths and more addiction and whatnot? I don't see it. But anyway, by the way, I didn't highlight this. This was the U.S. attorney who highlighted it in purple. I usually highlight in yellow. I'm an old schooler. Yellow was the only highlight color back in the day. But this is the U.S. attorney's highlight here. Quote, you see it in purple, safe injection sites, harm reduction sites, or however they are branded by advocates are categorically illegal and do nothing to help people overcome their addictions. She's citing some other studies that are out there. You're going to hear all sorts of studies, and you've seen them. We posted this on our website. There's been feedback provided. We posted it on social media. Again, the story is called Harm Reduction, or I keep forgetting the headline of the damn story. Harm Reduction or Irreparable Harm is the name of the story. Check it out on InsideLowell.com, but look at our Facebook post about it. There's a lot of back and forth about it. There's scientific evidence on each side. Again, if you think that the evidence isn't clear, then the fact that it's illegal and your U.S. attorney has told you it's illegal should be the tipping point in that discussion. Why would you want to pass legislation that runs afoul of federal law? Somebody suggested to me, well, what if it was in the Lowell Community Health Center? What if we created this safe injection site as part of the Lowell Community Health Center, and that's where the supervision was, and what's the harm in that? Well, for the Lowell Community Health Center, the harm would be they're going to risk federal funding. Your U.S. attorney for Boston, for Massachusetts, has told you this is illegal, and she has told you it's illegal because the Lowell Sun, your community newspaper, printed an editorial in support of them, saying the feds should turn a blind eye to them. Not only did she not turn a blind eye to it, she sent out a message that tells the Lowell Sun and anybody else who thinks this is a good idea that it is illegal. Not just illegal, look at the wording highlighted in purple. Categorically illegal. You think the U.S. attorney is going to turn a blind eye if the Commonwealth of Massachusetts passes this legislation? If some organization in Lowell or any other community says, yeah, we love the idea, let us be the ones to have our harm reduction center or safe injection site. You think the Attorney General is going to turn a blind eye? She's already aware of it. She already knows about Lowell and the push for safe injection sites, even if that push was from just an editorial versus a mass outpouring of support. We don't know yet where most of the public in Lowell stands. As Melanie Gilbert from the Lowell Sun and I told you in our podcast last Tuesday, needle exchange programs are going to become an election issue in 2025. And now, as I speculated about safe injection sites are going to become one as well, here you go. It's now going to become a community battle. It will be fought on the Lowell City Council floor. The activists will show up. I don't know how many people who are opposed to it are going to show up, but the activists will be there. They're always there. What else do they have to do? They're activists. This is their job. This is their life, to be active. So whether they're active environmental activists or enabling safe injection activists, this is what they do. They'll show up. Where will the other people who say this is going to destroy our community, this is going to destroy lives, this is going to destroy families, are they going to show up and speak? I don't know. We'll find out. Ultimately, I think this is going to become an election issue on November 4th. And right now, Councilors Robinson and 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 are the ones who put forth this motion to ban them in Lowell, the safe injection sites. They've been going back and forth a little with State Rep Tara Hong on social media. But I can tell you the other 9 Lowell City Councilors are going to have an opportunity to speak on it, and they probably will. They're going to have to, as will the 8 challengers. Are there 8 challengers? I think there are 7 or 8 challengers who are vying either for a district city council seat or an at-large seat. They too are going to have to chime in on this, as are your organizations. They're going to have to say, well, you know, we support this. We're okay with breaking federal law because our belief is that this is much better. Do you want to risk the funding? As we talked about the sanctuary city debate, which Lowell has very smartly avoided so far, do you want to risk funding? If you're, I don't know, and by the way, the Lowell Community Health Center has not said anything on this. I just brought them up because somebody said to me, why not have this in the Lowell Community Health Center? Well, if the Lowell Community Health Center wants to risk potential federal funding, they get grants left and right. We get the press releases all the time. We run them here on Inside Lowell. They're getting money from the state. They're getting money from the federal government. Congresswoman Trahan sends out the press release when they get their money. Do they want to risk that funding? Do they want to risk funding for all the other things that they do because they want a safe injection site there? I would say no. If I was sitting on the LCHC board, the Lowell Community Health Center board, I'd tell them, don't do this. This is bad. Wait till it's legalized federally. Or how about putting the resource into long-term substance use treatment programs and see if we can get some people, instead of getting them off the streets into safe injection sites to shoot up, how about we get them off the streets, period, and into some treatment programs that offer housing and long-term treatment that may finally rid the need of harm reduction centers and sites and whatnot. That's kind of where I would stand on it, but we'll find out tomorrow night. Mark my words, this will be a very lengthy and heated discussion on the Lowell City Council floor tomorrow night. And I don't know what the temperature is on Beacon Hill in the House of Representatives. As we mentioned, they've resisted the urge to pass this, even when the Senate pushed it a few years back. Is the House Speaker in a different situation today? Is his membership in a more, enabling position today, and has the legs to get this passed? I don't know. These are political battles that need to be fought out. I've told you where I stand, and again, it's about getting it's about getting people into treatment, because ultimately there is no such thing as a safe injection, especially today with the dangerous drugs that are on our streets today and killing people, destroying lives, destroying families, and destroying communities. There's better ways. There are better ways. As well-intentioned as some folks may have this, I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong, and I encourage you to revisit your thoughts on it. I know what I'm hoping the Lowell City Council does. I know what I'm hoping the Massachusetts legislature and governor do. But again, if your U.S. attorney, Donald Trump's U.S. attorney, says something, I know that there's a instant reaction to do the exact opposite. So far, Lowell has bucked that trend. Let's see if they continue to do so. All right, that wraps up our Big Mouth Monday edition of the Daily Pulse. Tomorrow, Jerry Nutter will join us. We published another Nutter's Sunday Notes column yesterday. A lot of stuff in there, and he too wants to weigh in on this issue and the city council meeting tomorrow night, and who knows what else we will be talking about. But we've got a full week of the Daily Pulse planned here on Inside Lowell. Again, it's the show that keeps its finger on the pulse of Lowell and the world around it. And as we demonstrated once again today, the world around it always, always has a connection to Lowell. Till tomorrow, everybody stay safe. Enjoy this gorgeous weather on the first day of fall, and I'll see you on the other side.